Well, thank you for joining Common Sensibility. We have a great guest here today. It's Jennifer Mount. She is with Legacy Realty Advisors. She's the managing broker for 23 years of experience. So thank you, Jennifer, for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited.
Well, can you give us a little bit of a background of I see this great resume, but I'm going to let you tell that story and then we'll get on with the podcast.
Sure. So I am from Tulsa, and I like to tell people that I've lived in a 9-mile radius my whole life. So I have traveled around, but I haven't lived very many places. I love everything about Tulsa. I think that it's a great place. And ironically, this year, I think I've already sold about 7 homes to people moving here from other markets. And so I just believe in everything about the Tulsa market, the affordability, the convenience. I mean, it's just the best place, in my opinion. And my degree is actually in business education. And so I had a job training people of how to do their jobs. And then 9/11 happened and other things happened. And so I got laid off, and they didn't give us any severance. They gave us a 60-day notice, which is called the Warren Act. And this was in 2002. And so ironically, I was already in real estate school. And so I was married at the time. So myself and my husband, and we had one rental at that time. Both of our tenants, all 4 of us lost our jobs on the same day. So we had 2 houses, 2 kids, all the things, and no jobs. And so I think that that is really a key factor in people's success whenever they go into a new endeavor, whether it's real estate or whatever it might be, is when it's all on the line and you don't have a B plan, that makes you go all in on your A plan. And so that's what I did. I was like, well, I'm in real estate school. I guess I'm going to be a realtor. And so that's how it started. It was the last week of May in 2002, whenever our biggest client came in and told us we were all losing our jobs. We had grown the company from 17 to 750. And so they said, you guys get to go lay off all the staff and then help us liquidate all of the items, the desks and everything. And then you will no longer have a job. And so that's your 60-day plan. And so, like I said, I just felt like that was, at that time, what we learned in life so much is that what seems like a disaster is really just God redirecting us into what we're supposed to be walking into in the next season. And it never looks like that when you're in it. But then when you look back, you can see like, okay, this is what I was supposed to do. So that was about 25 years ago. And I've just been going ever since. I've been so, so blessed. I was with Coldwell Banker for about 11 years and had some great leadership there. And then because of education, I transitioned to Keller Williams, and I was there for about 7 years. And then because of another tragedy that I've been repurposing, and now I opened my own brokerage. So November 9th will be 5 years.
Congratulations.
So I don't know if that was a small version, but that's it.
I love it. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So let's get into this. Yeah, we're here. We want to talk about the real estate market. We want to talk about on the credit union banking end. It's our mortgages. And so first question is, everyone says it's a bad time to buy. But in your perspective, is that actually true?
So one thing that I firmly believe is that and I coach my clients on this all the time, is that people should not buy because of an interest rate or the market. They should buy because of a need. And that's really what drives our real estate market is birth, death, divorce. Those are like 3 of the main factors that cause people to need to have a new space to live in. So these people that, had this lower interest rate back in 2019 and have been cramped in their house because they're waiting for it to go back down. My advice is it's not going back down. It might go down a little bit, but your kids are going to just keep growing. They're not going back down. So let's just go ahead and buy a house based on your life needs, not the market.
I think that's good information. Um, so you're saying, let me ask you this: if someone in their late 20s and early 30s, and they're renting and feeling behind, do you think that they're actually behind because they're renting instead of owning?
So one thing that I would definitely want to encourage people is you're not behind, you're just positioned differently than you would have been 10 years ago. And so I think that a lot of that generation are renting for longer. I think I heard a statistic the other day that like the average age in the United States of a first time home buyer is 46 years old.
I heard higher. I heard at least
51.
50, yeah, in the 50s.
So I heard both of those, but I just thought, how can that be? Because I remember whenever I was 20 when I bought my first house. And I didn't even really know anything back then. That's a funny story, but now my daughter's 26 and buying a house is not even on her radar. My first house was in Midtown. It was 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 car garage, and I bought it for 63,500. That same house today would be 271,000.
Mhm.
So it's just a very different landscape. So anyone that's renting, use that season to save up and prepare and plan so that whenever the right opportunity for you and your family comes, you're ready. And the key part of that is getting pre-approved.
Yeah.
So calling your credit union, calling you guys and saying, hey, how much can I qualify for? And then making sure that you don't shop outside your budget.
Well, I think that's probably an issue with a lot of people that I see, younger generation. I'm 41, so I'm not that old, but not that young. Is that their expectation? They see all these homes on, HGTV, and they see all these things. They want $1 million mansion, but I only want to pay $1,000 a month for it, and it's just not possible. So I think that's a great point. Is understanding your expenses, understanding the expenses of the home now, or just how much is my mortgage going to be, but what about insurance? What about escrow? What about upkeep? Those are things that I've lived in my house for 10 years, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to save for that. I have to now change my plans. So yeah, thank you for that. It's great information. Um, so, okay, the market's not bad. You're positioned in a different way. Um, what are you actually seeing people doing right now? This is, April of 2026. Are they stepping back, or are they just buying differently?
Um, People in terms of which demographic, more of the first time home buyers, the middle, the young
I
type.
think AM. What is the most common thing that you're seeing, at least in maybe in your general type of client?
Okay. So it's April, what, 25th or something?
Yeah.
So we're about 4 months into the year, and I've closed on 16 houses already this year, which is pretty, it's ahead of pace for me, and it's a good pace. I like it. So of those, so let's just talk about those 16 people. Ironically, like I said, 6 of those are people that were or are living in California.
Oh wow.
And they are wanting a fully change of pace, change of price, change of scenery. And this blows my mind. But 2 of them bought the house sight unseen. And so that puts a lot of pressure on me as their representative. And so I told them, I said, and I've never even met these people. And so I told one of them, well, both of them, I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Yes, I will find your house for you. And we're going to FaceTime from the moment I enter that neighborhood. I'm going to show you every house around you because it's so hard to know if the area is good based on just the house and the
Mhm.
photos. And so we FaceTimed from entering into the neighborhood, looked at every house around, their backyard, the front yard, everything. And on all the houses they wanted to see. So virtual showings are a real thing now, and that's something that I've never seen in the Tulsa market. Um, and luckily, gratefully, thankfully, they've all lit, closed and actually seen the house in person now, and they love it. So,
Great.
so that was a win for me because I would have a very difficult time trusting a stranger with $300,000, you know? So I would say that's a trend that I've been seeing that's fully different from anything else. Another thing I've been seeing is up right now, I have some first time home buyers relocating here from Houston. And well, this is across the board. The the income that they're making in these different states,
Mhm.
when they come to Tulsa, they're buying houses over $300,000 for first time home buyers.
Yeah.
And their debt to income ratios are under 48%.
Yeah.
So I think if we can get enough education out there, which I commend you on starting your podcast because education is where it's
Mhm.
at. If we can get buyers out there to really start leveraging themselves by not having a lot of debt, having a good safety net for savings account, and then their earning is already there, they're going to be very well positioned. The second trend that I think we're really going to be seeing, it's called the silver tsunami. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've heard a little bit, but
Okay.
give us a breakdown.
So I received my senior real estate specialist designation in 2018. So pre-COVID, pre all this stuff. And the reason that I earned that, the reason that I got that is because when my grandpa needed to sell his home and move somewhere else, I just saw all these opportunities. So I like to reframe the word challenges and call them opportunities. I saw all these opportunities to help people. And one of my main life goal is to help people, because I feel like the more we anyways, I'm not going to go into that. I'll get back on track. Okay. So, grandpa needed a lot of things. He needed someone to help him with an estate sale. He needed movers to help him. We needed to find an assisted living facility that accommodated his budget. And so after earning that designation, I assembled a team so that now where people come to me with that, I can help them. Well, the most people ever entering the over 65 age category is happening.
Yeah.
All of the baby boomers are aging out of their homes because a lot of them had a 2-story home. A lot of times the master was up, and that's no longer feasible. Even I met with a super sweet client the other day, and they live on an acre and they've raised their kids in this home, but now their health is poor and they're in their late 60s, early 70s. So helping that demographic of people transition out of their forever home into their next season is something that I've definitely seen. And I think it's really going to be a big opportunity over the next 3-5 years, honestly.
Yeah, you have competing issues in terms of you have baby boomers who are aging out of their homes, but also what I've seen is that they've probably lived in those homes a lot longer than expected, and then you have the millennials that probably need those homes to grow their family, and there's just not enough.
Right.
So we're kind of in this stage, and
Also, there's not enough affordable housing for our seniors to transition into. And a lot of them did not get long-term care insurance. And when you're looking at a $7,000 a month bill for an assisted living facility, I mean, come on, who can afford that? Who wants to afford that?
yeah,
And in fact, I told the people I met with the other day, I was like, guys, because they have a one level house. And I think that's the key. Are you safe here? And I said, is there any way you could just get a reverse mortgage or something like that and just stay in this home because they don't have long-term care insurance? So to go from not having a house payment for several years to going to that, I mean, that's going to take up your $300,000 pretty quick. So I see a lot of opportunity for both the baby boomers and then also the first time home buyers. So if we could match those up, here's the other issue. I purchased a house this year and she had lived in the house for 46 years. So a lot of people that have lived in their home for that long of a period of time, they don't see all the things that need to be done.
Well, yeah.
And when I walked in this house, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like you have to leave here right away." But she didn't have any money. So she had to sell the house in order to transition into her assisted living facility. And so I've done 2 of those this year. And I'm not saying this in any type of way, but a lot of our younger generation don't have any skills
Mhm.
or the desire to work hard on a house.
Mhm.
So they have to pay a contractor to come in. So when they look at the cost of purchasing the home and then the cost of paying someone else to update it, they just walk away and say, I'm just going to keep renting because they get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I don't know if that answered your
No,
question,
no, that was
but there are just a lot of variables right now, a lot of moving parts.
well, I think to even piggyback on the younger generation maybe not knowing, I actually never grew up in a home. I was always in a smaller trailer house, and I do have some skill sets, but there are some things that I was never educated, and I'm still learning to this day. And actually, luckily, I have Nick over here that's got a little bit of a background with homes and building, and so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna need you. Once that baby gets a little sleek, we have you come over to the house and take a look at a few things because I can tell you I can build a website, but I can't hardly do anything on a home. So
Well, and like this morning, whenever I was waiting to meet with you, I met my contractor in the parking lot
yeah,
because we cannot, um, there are not enough good contractors out there
Mhm.
with the amount of upgrades that people need to do.
Yeah,
So, if there's any 18-year-old listening to this, I would say get a trade. We need people that know how to work with their hands. We've got a lot of people that have a lot of technical ability, but not a lot of real hands on. And a lot of the trades like plumbers and electricians, they're also getting older
yeah.
and they don't want to get in crawl spaces anymore. And they don't want to climb in attics when it's 1,000 degrees outside. So there's just, I don't know. The whole world is full of so much opportunity. It's exciting, just which way do you want to go?
Exactly. And I do want to apologize to our listeners. I forgot to introduce Penny Chambers, who's here.
Oh,
She's our mortgage lender for the Tulsa market. So, Penny, thank you for joining us. I just completely forgot. So I apologize. Um, so we talk about opportunities. This is a great segment. We'll skip down through our questions real quick. Um, so what are people missing right now that could be actually help them get into a home sooner? Program strategies, anything that has even surprised you? You're talking about the older generation and the potential of an opportunity of you got this license to be able to do that. What else is possibly out there that people don't even know about?
so here's one thing that I really like to coach people on is if you are currently renting. So at Legacy Realty Advisors, we also had Legacy Leasing Solutions. And right now we manage about 40 properties. It is not my goal to manage rentals. I want to make that very clear. I also am hoping to attract a great property manager at some point, but until then, um, all of the tenants that we have, I like to coach them on getting their credit and getting everything in position. So when the opportunity arises, they're ready. Because I just always say you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So to answer your question, I think rephrase that question one more time.
So the question is, what are people missing out right now that could actually help them get into home center programs, strategies, anything that has surprised or even surprised you?
So I think they're missing out on being proactive. I think a lot of people are comfortable where they're at. Oh, for instance, I just closed on a house last month for first time home buyers who have been in renting for 16 years in the same house. And the only reason that they are buying is because she's pregnant with their second child and they just can't do it anymore. And so I'm like, you guys, there's down payment assistance for first time home buyers. Let me help you get approved for that. We can ask the seller to help pay with the closing costs. Let me help you with that. There are so many tools that we can use to help people achieve their real estate goals. But I think a lot of it is just fear and ignorance. They don't know that they can and they're scared to ask. So my main encouragement would be don't be scared. Just I mean it's free to get pre-approved. It's
Yeah.
free for them to call you, Benny, and say, "Hey,
Absolutely.
where do I sit?" And then you, as the amazing professional that you are, can say, "You know what? If you just pay down these 2 credit cards, don't pay them off, pay them down, and if you blah, 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 whatever you're gonna tell them, then that gives them so much hope that, oh my goodness, I can't buy a house."
Right.
So I think getting pre-approved is
It's the key.
it's the first thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Penny? Are you seeing anything that stands out with the clients that you're helping out, the members that you're helping out?
Not really. I think the key, like you said, is getting pre-approved. Really educating the borrower is key. First-time home buyers don't have, really, they're undereducated. They don't realize what it takes to buy a home. There's the down payment. There's the escrow startups. There's the first year of insurance up front. It's just not a down payment. And I sit down with them and we line all that out, and they're just really overwhelmed of how much it costs to buy a house.
Yeah.
And then there's also the fact that once they do qualify, if their debt to income is really close, then you try and tell them also, there's an escrow analysis every year, that they look at that. If they can afford, if it's thin now, can they afford it later on? So there's a lot that goes into it. And, I love what I do, getting people into that home. I absolutely love it. And I see that in you as well, Jennifer. So that's the key, is really just getting them pre-approved, sitting down with them one-on-one and saying, this is what it's going to take to get you into that home. So that's something.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you both. So now we're talking about education. And one of the things I think people don't understand, other than just the mortgage getting pre-approved, things like that, I don't think they also just understand, like you said just a little bit ago, is they don't understand the house. So as a realtor, what are the things buyers don't think to look at that they absolutely should? What is a red flag that makes someone walk away completely?
So I'll share my story of the purchase of my first house.
Okay.
So I was 20 and I had my son and I was married, and we were driving after church and saw an open house sign. Okay. So at that time, I, was obviously not in real estate or anything like that. So we go into the open house and it looked perfect, and so we're like, yes, we want to buy it. And the realtor was like, okay, well, I was like, well, I don't have $63,000. I don't really think it would take me a long time to save up. She's like, oh no, you just call this person and get pre-approved. And so I did, and he was like, yeah, you're approved. And I was like, okay, so then what do we do now? And she's like, well, you just they do this title work and then you close. And I was like, okay, that's great. This is awesome. And so we moved in and of course got the utility switched and everything, and heard all this water running. And I'm like looking at my husband at the time, I'm like, what is that? Because it was a flip. And so it looked immaculate. Well, I called my dad, of course, because who we call when we need anything, call dad. I I just turned 50 last week, and I called my dad this morning on the way here. So some things never change. And I said, Dad, I hear a bunch of water. He's like, well, you should, I'll be right over. And then we'll figure out what to do. So we called a plumber. Well, all the pipes underneath the house burst because when they did the flip, they duct taped the pipes together. So of course, when the water came in, they all burst. So of course, I called my realtor and I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, well, it's your home, you know. So a couple of things about that I learned, and I always coach my buyers is, yes, $750 does seem like a lot of money when you're buying your first home, and inspections can save you so much money.
Thousands.
So much money. So when buyers balk about doing inspections, I really I share that story with them. And I tell them if she had encouraged me to get a home inspection, any inspector would have seen that.
Yeah.
And we could have flagged that. And so I have a first time home buyer and we're closing on Friday. And she got all the inspections and we found out that the roof was bad. So I don't know if anyone's familiar, but roofs right now are very expensive. So it was $13,160 because we found that in the first 10 days of going into contract. I was able to negotiate with the seller to put on a new roof prior to closing with the roofer of my buyer's choice and the shingle of my buyer's choice. So when you have a realtor to advocate for you, you can overcome those hurdles and still everybody wins. Now I'm on the flip side of that right now, and my listing needs a new roof. And the buyer's agent flipped out. And so now the buyer backed out, even though we're going to replace the roof. So I think practicing the pause and staying calm and having an advocate in your corner that can help you are all ways that everyone can achieve the goal, which is a seller wants to sell and a buyer wants to buy. So why don't we all just work together to accomplish that? And so home inspections are a really good tool that can help, I think, answer a little bit of your question. And then also, I used to not really advocate for these, but I have been lately, is a home warranty. A lot of the home warranty companies now will let you choose your own worker, if you will.
Yeah.
So used to, you'd have to call an 800 number and make you either run around for 3 days, just like all insurance. I'm sorry for any insurance person listening, but it's like insurance companies want you to pay, but they never want you to use it.
Yep.
And if you do, they're going to penalize you. It's really a whole thing. And yet we have to have insurance. So anyways, let's say that the age of the AC unit is 18 years. That's a good, as long as it's in normal working order at closing, that's a great time to get a home warranty, because chances that it's going to go out in July are pretty high. If you have a home warranty, then it covers everything from the ceiling to the floor. So it doesn't cover the roof, it doesn't cover the foundation, but it covers all the other units. So AC units are about $7,000. So that $700 could get you a new AC unit for free.
Yeah.
It's a peace of mind policy.
Yeah. And, you can always use it as a negotiation tool.
Sure.
When you're on the buyer side and ask the seller to pay for it. And I've been using it as a negotiation tool within the repair period, because everything's negotiable within the first 10 days. And if we didn't know that the AC unit was on its last leg, instead of asking for it to be replaced, $7,000, we can ask for a home warranty, $700, and it's a win-win for the buyer and the seller.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with the home warranties. A friend that, has a very nice house, and and a pool and all of that. It's massive square footage. And, I talked to him and he's like, yep, that's the number one thing you should have is a home warranty for those reasons. And he laid it all out. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So glad to hear that. I actually make fun of myself on terms of, not knowing, something as you with your pipes bursting. I bought my house and about 3 months in, my hot water stopped going. And I'm thinking, oh no, my hot water heater's done, or I can look. I knew enough to look, and there's no pilot light going. And my grandpa had showed me, oh, that's how you light the pilot light. And then I realized, oh, I never set up my my gas connection with the gas company. 3 months in, it's they paid for it. So luckily it was the summer, and I had to take a couple cold showers, but got that turned on. And so yeah, make sure with your electric company also pay your gas company.
Okay, so I had a client a couple months ago, and he bought a $489,000, so $500,000, right? And we closed on Friday. He texted me on Tuesday, and he was like, "What about utilities?" I was like, "Yeah, you need those." I sent you the document the Monday of closing week with all of the utility connections on. So now you need to call them. So whether you're a first time home buyer or very experienced, it's an easy thing to forget.
Yeah.
But once you realize you forgot it, you're on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that one real quick. But we got it taken care of. So couple more questions and then we'll get you out of here. 'Cause I know you got some other things that you got to do. So when it comes to, we are a credit union. We're in the Tulsa market. There's a number of us, and then there's also community banks, and then there's the big banks. Do you notice a difference between buyers working with big banks versus local lenders or credit unions? And where do buyers get burned out most on the lending side?
So any buyer that chooses to work with a local lender, such as Red Crown, has a huge advantage because you have a real person to talk to. Typically underwriting, which a lot of people don't understand, is in-house. And also problems do arise always. And when you have someone that you can look at in the face and say, help me, you're going to be 10 times more successful than if you are with a national lender. I won't use any names, but where you're in a call center environment, you never get the same person. You have a processor, not a go-to. You don't have an advocate in your corner typically whenever you're working with a big lender. So that's why it's so important to work with someone like Red Crown to get that personal experience. And let's say you go on some online thing. I don't want to say any names, but go somewhere online and they quote you this great deal. Take it to your Red Crown lender and say, can you match this? Or at least get close. And a lot of times the lender can or will match so that they can earn your business, because with relationship building, which is what we do and what you guys do, it's not just that buyer that we're impacting. It's their parents, it's their brother, it's everyone, because when you're buying a house, that's all you talk about. And so whether that experience is terrible or awesome, that's all the people around you hear. So when I'm thinking of getting or working with a new client, I know for sure I'm not just working with that client. I'm working with their entire sphere of influence.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to use a local lender.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I agree with that because I've been in the industry for 20 years. And I am a local type. I'm not just you have to come to Red Crown because I do understand there's needs for other institutions, and I always say start at your local credit union because I'm a credit union advocate. But there are also great local community banks out there that do take care of their customers. And so I'm glad to hear that. Penny, anything on your side in terms of working with members? You've been doing it now for a long time. What is your outlook of how you help our members?
I can honestly say I've worked for the largest in now a credit union. Been in the financial industry for over 32 years. So the one-on-one is very important. The hands-on means a lot to our members. And like I honestly say, when I first started, you had to go through a call center, never got the same person twice. We're allowed to talk to the underwriters. It's very frustrating, not only for the people that I was working with, but for myself as well. So it is awesome that I work in an industry in a place that I can actually walk into an office and talk to my underwriter because problems do arise and they're easily fixed. Not really easily, I shouldn't say that, but we can work them out. So I agree. It's much easier with a small institution get things to get things fixed when they do come about.
Great. And let's close this out. One last final question. So we've got a number of people out ready to buy a home. We got probably one in this room. And so it may be a year, maybe 2 years, but as a realtor, what will you tell them to think about to get them to those keys in their hand, whether it's finances, whether it's debt reduction, whether it's finding the place, finding the area, and what is the most couple important things to let them know, hey, this is a potential reality, and to help me get going.
So at the end of all of our blogs and our podcasts and stuff, we always have a 3-2-1. So it's 3 things you learned, 2 things that you're going to share with someone else, and then 1 thing you're going to execute on. So hopefully throughout our time with them today, the 3 things they learned that I want to encourage them is go ahead and talk to Penny and make a roadmap for success for your purchase, whether it's a month from now or 2 years from now. It's free to make a plan. Number 2 is I feel like, we didn't talk about this a lot, but I feel like goals are so important. And when I was 20, I set a goal to own 10 properties, and so I think it would be really advantageous for young people or any person to set a goal and then write it down because you cannot hit a target that you can't see. And then the third thing I would say is make sure that you are using the resources that are close to you instead of going on Zillow or going on realtor.com or whatever the other websites are. Use someone that's referred to you because a referral is going to most likely take care of you better than a cold agent that paid for your lead because they're a paid deal. So 2 things I would encourage people that listen to this to share is this podcast because it's going to provide information to them, and then also share Penny's information so they can know who to call to get pre-approved. And then the one thing I would encourage people to execute on is when you're making your plan, when you're writing down your goals, dream big. Because when I was 20, if I had made my plan to own 20 houses, right now I would own 20 houses, but I didn't. So whatever your plan is, sit down with your whoever, make your plan, cross it out and double it. And then go for that because whenever you aim higher, even if you don't hit it, you're still going to be higher than if you had a low goal.
That's great. Great information. Please tell everyone where they can find you. I know you have a number of social medias and things like that. So
yes. So we've just launched the Live Legacy Now podcast because we feel like your legacy is something that you live out every day. It's not just something that you leave behind. So we would love for them to go to that, our YouTube channel, and I'm sure all of our contact information will be in the notes. So we would love to connect with anyone. I love coffee. I love fitness. So if anybody wants to go for a walk and talk about your goals, I love helping people set their goals and achieve their goals. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And we appreciate you coming in. Again, Jennifer Mount with Legacy Realty Advisors. If you are looking for a home, please give her a call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
A few quick updates from Red Crown Credit Union. Wheels for Wishes Car Show is coming up on May 16th at the Pryor Tigers football stadium. This is a car show supporting Make-A-Wish Oklahoma with classic cars and family fun. Auto loan rates as low as 4.99% APR for up to 72 months. Visit redcrowncu.org for more information. Rates and terms are subject to change. Thanks for listening to Common Centsibility. Subscribe, share this episode, and send us your questions for future shows. Until next time, keep building clarity one decision at a time.